Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. We're very fortunate to have both Carmen Andrew and Monika Waring presenting for us today and talking to us about the procedures and tips and tricks for the annual return. So from here, I think I'll turn it over to Monika to run the show.
Thank you, Tim. Welcome, everyone. I was going to start the evening off with something cheeky like, bonsoir, mes amis, welcome to my cooking class. But I think under the circumstances, we have probably a lot of questions and a lot of things to cover this evening. So I would love to introduce you to Carmen Andrew, our director, and she is going to speak to you briefly about some of the things that are happening right now that will impact ag societies greatly. So Carmen, if you're ready, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. We thought this would be a great opportunity to go through in detail all of the little tips and tricks involved with completing your annual return. So I'm sure that this will be time well spent with Monika on this. Just a couple things before we get into it that I just want to highlight. So of course, in this world of COVID, of course, you're all very well aware of everything that has recently been announced. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you check the websites. I know AAAAS has all the latest and greatest information up on their site. Be sure to check that. Monika also sent an email out to all the ag societies today about the small and medium business development grant that you might want to take a peek at as well, because they've extended that. So please be sure to look at that. And the other thing I want to mention to you is, I'm sure you're wondering, why is this just about the annual returns? Why aren't we talking about the grant application? Just so you know, we in the department are in the process of just figuring out for sure the best way in light of COVID to modify the grant process and application. So we're just trying to finalize a few things. So we're not quite ready yet to talk about that. But as soon as we have things figured out and we've got the option that we want to go with and all the details sorted out, we will be sure to let you know and give you all the details. So I think that's all. Unless anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat box or connect with us afterwards. But otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to the fabulous Monika to take you through the annual return update.
So this evening, this is what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to introduce you to our Agricultural Societies program team, and then we're going to talk about annual returns. I'll be going over the details of successfully completing your annual returns and basically just some of the things that we in the past seem to have a little bit of difficulty with. So this is my quick tips and tricks to get it right the first time. If you look really closely in that picture, you'll see Colin on one of those horses. Carmen's in there somewhere. Tim and those guys are in there as well, but you probably won't be able to see us very clearly. So an introduction, Carmen Andrew is our director as of April 1st this past year. Colin Gosselin is our senior project coordinator, so he works on all of these grants, the bylaws, and the annual returns with us. And I am your program support and take care of all of the little details to make this wheel go round and round. What I can do for you, I can receive and process all of your annual returns and the grant applications once they have been confirmed and we have an actual grant application to present. I can receive and review your bylaw submissions. I also issue certificates of good standing once all of the grants and the annual returns have been completed. I'll do your corporate registry updates, and what that means is when you submit to me your list of directors, I will enter them into the corporate registry, and they will have that on file for you. So each year I update that with the changes you make to your directors and your executives. I also do the changes to the directors and the contact information, so it's very important that that's communicated to me as quickly as you can. I'll do copies of your incorporation certificates when you actually... Oh, sorry.
Monika, can I break in a little bit? We're having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I need to turn my volume up a bit.
It's your
Whoops.
microphone. I don't know
Okay.
if
Can you hear me now?
a little muffled, and there's been some comments on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Well, it's not that we couldn't hear you, it's we can't hear you well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll slow down and speak a little bit clearer. Copies of incorporation certificates when your ag society actually became an ag society, and direct deposit forms. So those are all some of the things that I can do for you as your grant support. So let's talk about the annual returns. Now they are due February 15th, 2021. You need to be in good standing under the Act, which is an eligibility to requirement to receive your grant. So that means you have to have your financial statement, your annual return, and your grant application, and it all has to be completed by February 15th, 2021. Basically, that has been the way it has been always, and there really isn't too much change to that. You'll notice in the packages that I sent out earlier, all of the documents for the annual return. This checklist doesn't always appear to be a big thing to some people, but it does tell me that you have gone through and checked off all of the items that you have to send to me. If it's not checked off, you could have forgotten something. So I do need a director's list. I do need the activities report, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit more. Copies of your most recent AGM, which would be the one that you should be having now or in the near future. Copy of the minutes of the second most recent AGM, that's last year's. So they would be adopted at this year's AGM and signed. The AGM membership sign-in sheet, and that's just to verify to me that you did achieve quorum at the meeting. And I'll tell you a little thing about that in a minute too. Financial statements. So for new people, these financial statements must be approved at your annual general meeting by your membership. They can only be a review engagement or an audit report. We cannot accept a notice to reader. Unfortunately, we've had trouble with that in the past, and so notice to reader is off the list. They must be signed by 2 directors and the accountant. The statement of certification is the bottom part of that page. I need to see it dated, the director's name printed, and signed in pen. It cannot be an e-signature. Unfortunately, finance will not accept an e-signature because that can be done anywhere on a computer, anywhere. So 2 dates, 2 signatures, or 2 directors' names printed out, and 2 signatures. The directors list, I need at the top of this page, I need your full legal agricultural society name. Please, please, please don't put the wrong and, the word and, or the ampersand. It must be the correct one. So if you are Stony Plain and District and it's the word and, that's how I need to see it every single time. And please use the full agricultural society, as ag society is not an acceptable use. I can say that when I'm talking to you, but I can't use it when I'm writing it on a legal document. Mailing address, this has to be where the correspondence is going. If you send it to somebody's house because they pick it up on a regular basis, that's where it's got to go every single time. So don't change your address here to something different, and then on the grant application, it's a different address again, because then I've got to verify everything, and finance will check on that as well. Email addresses are very important. It gives me another option for getting in touch with you. If I can't reach you by telephone because you're at work, I can quickly send you an email, and then you'll be able to get back in touch with me. Your primary contact is very important. That should be the person who has done all of the work to get this annual return put together. And they're going to know the answer to the question that I'm going to ask them. You can put their position in there, whether they're the secretary, the president, whichever, but please include telephone numbers and email addresses. Go to the next one. Activities report. I know you're going to say, well, we didn't do any activities this year, so why am I filling this in? I would love for you to fill this in because it's an indicator for how the COVID-19 has changed what you have done this year. So if you've held any meetings, any kind of activity at all, fill this in because we report this every single year on how many activities you hold, what types of activities you have, and this is going to really highlight what a difference this COVID has made and an impact on your ag society. So please fill this in and send it in. This is just the categories in the activity codes. So if it's a 4-H meeting, you put 9 on there, however many people attended, however much time was spent volunteering, the total number of hours, and the total attendees go on the activity sheet as well. So that's just the 2 pages of the codes. For the membership sheet this year, the sign-in sheet, if you're having an in-person meeting, people need to sign their name. And you may have to wipe the pen down between each time, or ask them to bring their own pen. But if they attended in person, they should sign the attendance sheet. If they attend virtually, then the secretary can write all of their names down. And you'll see that when you check on the Zoom meeting, who has attended the meeting, and you can just write those names in. But then just tell me it was a virtual meeting, and I'm not going to question them.
Monika, I have a question here.
Definitely.
The question is back on the reporting of what happened this year, and do they include virtual meetings in that report?
Yes, go ahead. I won't have a code for that, but please do include the virtual meetings. Yep. You made an effort to get together, why not?
Okay.
The direct deposit form is only for people who haven't already got electronic banking. So then I would ask you to fill this in. Part 1 is filled in by the Ag Society, and it has to have the legal name. If you don't spell it correctly and put the symbol instead of the word, I'm sorry, did you miss that part? Okay, so the direct deposit is only for ag societies who don't already have their direct deposits, and then you would need to fill this in. You don't need to fill it in each year. If I have it once, I'm good. So if you don't have it, then you need to fill in Part A or Part 1 with your full legal name, the first name of the person signing on the checks and all of that. Sign it, date it, and then you need to take it to the bank and either have the bank stamp and fill in Part 2 or send me a voided check. But if you're sending a voided check, the check has to have the correct legal name and the correct address on it. If there's difference between what you wrote in there and what's on the check and what's on my list of your correct name, it'll go back. Finance won't accept it. I encourage people to sign up for direct deposit because this will make a difference between receiving your check in 3 days or receiving it in 2 weeks. And it automatically will go into your account. It will be that much quicker. I still send you a letter saying what you got and what the breakdowns were, but your check will be in the bank much, much quicker. Freedom of information and protection of privacy. We only collect the information from you to be used by the Ag Society's program and within the government. So somebody phoning me off the street doesn't get the information that you have provided for me. So we use it to share with other programs in the government to let them know what sorts of things you're doing as an Ag Society, and that's it. We don't publish it out in newspapers or anything like that, and that's the way we want to keep it. If you have
Monika?
any- Yep.
We have a few questions.
Okie dokie.
First one is from Trish. She was unable to open the direct deposit form. Can it be sent to her again?
Yes. So send me an email. A lot of people have trouble with the PDF, and I will send you a Word version of the direct deposit form.
Okay. Next question is from Denise. If we didn't do an AGM this year, do we do it now?
We didn't do one this year. So your AGM should be happening between end of October, between now and up to January. So you still have time. We're going to talk about this with the COVID, that I am going to suggest if you can't have it right now with the new restrictions, that you do have time to have it at the beginning of January. So anytime in the first couple weeks of January is still all right. We suggest that you do check with the website for the health regulations and rules around gatherings. You may have to be creative, but you don't have the option not to have your AGM. It must go forward in some way, shape, or form. And I can give you all kinds of creative ways to come together to have it and do it safely, but you do have to have it. So your reports aren't due until the 15th of February. It gives you lots of time to find a way to manage to have this AGM.
Okay. Next question is, how can an Ag Society verify if they are set up for the direct deposit if they are unable to remember?
Okay, well, you can go back to your bank statement from last year and see whether it was deposited EFT, which means electronic filing, or whether you got a check and you would have had a stub.
Okay. That is it for right now.
Okay. We'll go on to the next.
No, one more.
Oops, no, okay.
I assume that a virtual AGM will be acceptable.
Yes, it will. So we talked about this a little earlier. If you're having virtual AGMs, you will need to just record the names of the people who signed in, similar to what we're doing this evening. If you're having some attendance in person, you can have somebody write down their names. I'm okay with that. But just tell me in the minutes that this meeting was held 50% virtually and 50% in person to keep the numbers safe. And I'm certainly all right with that. We're not trying to make things more difficult for you. But as I said, the option to not have an AGM is just not there. It is a part of the annual return and requirements to receive the grant.
Monika, it's Carmen. I was just going to jump in on that and also just remind people that I believe Monika, a couple weeks ago, last week, sent out a document just with some different tips and ideas about virtual AGMs. So we can always send it out again, but I think ACE has it as well. So it might just give you some ideas if you're trying to come up with creative ways to have your AGM.
Yeah. I'm just going to go backwards for a quick second here because I want to talk about this one. With the direct deposit form, I need to have the original form mailed to me. Finance will not accept photocopies or scanned copies, so it needs to be mailed to me. And at the very end of this, my address comes up. You'll be able to see that. They would like you to send the original check and the original form signed and dated, and then they can see the stamp from the bank if that's what you're having done. So it always has to be just the original. Unfortunately, it means sending it in a separate envelope, but you can always claim your postal expenses. So we'll go back again. So this is contact information for the three of us in this department. Carmen's email address and her phone number. If you don't find this information helpful, you can tell her that I messed it up really bad. Colin and myself and the generic Ag Society grant email and our address in Stony Plain where you can send all of the information. So what I would like to suggest to people is if you're not comfortable scanning and emailing, I'm always happy to accept printed documents or photocopied documents sent to me in the mail. You can send it by courier, you can send it in the mail, you can scan it and send it to us, but please, please, please don't take pictures on your phone and send me 50 pictures with JPEGs on them. They don't translate very well, and it's very difficult for me I could miss a page very easily that way. So there's lots of options. You can always claim the postal and the courier expenses on your office expenses in your grant. So there's lots of options. And as long as it reaches me on the 15th of February, and you're lucky this year, because that's a family day holiday, so you'll get an extra day, then that's great. Yeah, and you can always call me and tell me if you're having problems, and we'll make arrangements. Questions? So let me have it. Hello?
So if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can type it into the chat box and I would be happy to ask it on your behalf. Apparently you were as clear can be, Monika.
Did I go too fast? Was there something that I missed that I should have spent more time on with you?
I have one.
Okay.
If we, this is from Barb, if we have a specific date in our bylaws to have our AGM by, do we have flexibility on that?
Yes, you do. So right now, because these restrictions came out today, and they're very specific about the number of people for gatherings, I'm telling you, you have the option to delay it somewhat. You can wait till later in December or wait till the beginning of January if that's more convenient. We have till the 15th of February for all of these reports to be sent in. So don't stress out over it, but you do have to have an AGM. It's just you can wait a little bit of time to see if the numbers go down.
All right. The next question is from Laura. She's never sure whether the director's list is for the newly elected ones or last year's on the report.
No, it should be for this year's directors.
The new ones.
Yes, the new ones that were elected at this AGM. That's why this annual return is being submitted for February 15th.
Okay.
And something about the director's list as well. Please make sure you put in full names, addresses, phone numbers, and if they have emails, attach email addresses as well. Sometimes when things come up and we have to ask a question and the first 3 people on the list are in Phoenix on winter break, I have to go to number 10 or 11 of the directors to find an answer. Plus, you never know what could happen. We may get an opportunity for something else that comes along that we want to pass on to ag societies. And if I can't get a hold of the first 2 people, I start going down the list. And a couple years ago, we were all the way down at the bottom of the list contacting people saying, this fantastic opportunity has arose and we want you to take advantage of it. And we had to start looking for people to get in touch with. So it's good.
I have a few more questions here.
Okay.
From Cam, what happens if we have problems getting quorum coming to the meeting?
You have to then call a second meeting, unfortunately. That's why it might be better to send out feelers to see how many people might attend this meeting right away. If it doesn't look like it's going to make it this time around, hold off and go to the next one. But if your meeting's tomorrow night and only 5 people show up, and that's not what your quorum is, you will have to call another meeting.
Okay. Next question is from Suzanne. Any timeline as to when the grant paperwork might be released?
Oh, I wish I could tell you. I was really hoping that I would have an answer for that tonight, but we're hoping it's going to be soon. And as soon as it comes out, I'll do another mass email. I will send it out. Anybody who is new to doing the paperwork can then contact me, because I don't know that we'll have enough time to do another webinar, and I can most definitely help them out with the paperwork. But at this moment, I don't have an answer as to when it will be ready.
Okay.
And it's
one
Carmen
more.
here, and I just to
Go ahead, Carmen.
oh, sorry, I didn't know if I was on. We will definitely let you guys know as soon as possible. So we should know hopefully soon.
All right, there are a few more questions here. One from Diana. She received a 10-page document, but there was nothing for projects, Beef Expo, expenses, etc.
A 10-page document from, I'm not sure what that one would be. It was something I sent out?
Diana, did you want to unmute yourself and
I did. Yes.
Okay.
I'm referring to the annual return for ag societies. And I think that you've already answered my question, that portion of the return we have not received yet.
The grant application.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you
It
haven't
was just
received that yet.
terminology. That's all.
Okay, sorry. No, that was not attached.
Coming when ready.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry to be
That's
stupid.
okay. No, never.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gloria, if our fiscal year is June to July, do we use that as our activities list?
Yes.
Okay. Can we have another session on the grant application?
Sure, I guess so. We can see when it gets done up, whether we need to schedule another one. I'm hoping it's not going to be too close to Christmas, because that's hard for a lot of people. I realize that. But if it's timely and we can get it to you, I'll talk to Tim and we'll see if we can make arrangements.
All right. Next question is from Holly. Will the grant application be similar to the previous year? Last year, we didn't have to include a business plan. Should we expect something similar to last year?
Well, the actual grant application, that's the part we don't know. But I can tell you, you do not have to submit to us your 3-year business plan or the business plan report. That doesn't mean you don't have to report to your membership on your 3-year business plan. So I just don't have to see it anymore. So you'll have to still report to the membership on what your business plan is, but you just don't have to send it to me.
All right. Any other questions? Looks like we're clear so far. Just for everybody's reference, again, this session will be up on the website in the coming days, and ACE will send out a notice that it is up and available. If you do have questions, both Monika and Colin are available, as our office. We would be happy to field any questions that you might have. Thank you very much, Carmen and Monika, for presenting this to our membership today. I'm sure they all found it extremely helpful. There are a lot of thank yous coming in.
Oh, you're so welcome. And as I said, I'm here until just before Christmas. So if you have any questions, please email me or give me a phone call. I'm always happy to talk to you and share what information I can with you. Thank you so much, Tim, for hosting us.
You're very welcome. I'm going to put a little plug in. If you haven't had a chance to do your bylaw review yet, we do have a bylaw review workshop coming up online on December 15th. So you can register for that on our website.